Alright, so welcome back to the build series on the jumbo shrimp. I believe this is going to be the start of part 5. So we're making good progress on the sponsons. I have them pretty much even. And I have this piece here. This is going to be the support for the turn fin. I'm going to use these. That pushing into the wood, so tightening the bolt will pull these that way, so that should hold. I'm gonna reinforce that with some epoxy, so hopefully it doesn't shatter if anything bad happens. But these guys are looking good. It turned out pretty nice, and I've got my angles sanded down for the last pieces. So I still have the little gaps there on this and some along here. And what I'm going to do, I've been collecting some sawdust. I'm going to do regular epoxy, clamp that, and then mix some sawdust in with the rest of it and fill in these little gaps and spots. I think there's one on the transom too. Yeah, up there in the corner, just, yeah, bottom left corner. Just fill it in, get it all nice and uniform so there's no weak spots. The stain turned out awesome. This is the Furniture Clinic teak. Same stuff, you can find it on Amazon, get it next day, and it really brought out the grain nice. I like it, I really like it. And I was thinking, my original plan was to line all the outside with fiberglass like Cozy did. He pretty much put a layer fiberglass on the sponsons, and I think he did his tub too, I'm not sure. But I really don't want to cover up this pattern. This grain is it's looking really nice, and I'm thinking of doing some stripes on these. I think I'm going to do 2 race stripes. So I'm going to tape off where I want the stripes and clear finishing resin those where I want the stripes, so those will stay the base color. So once that clear cures, I'll pull the tape and then do the stain, and that should bring the stripes with a nice clean line. So I think that'll look cool. And I had the front taped up here, or the front clamped on each of the sponsons, and just tape running around the sides to get them all get a good joint there. But yeah, they turned out pretty good. I maybe got a little crooked with the file. I kind of maybe overworked these a little bit, but it turned out nice. So happy with that. And my lid, it turned out kind of how I thought it would. My lids, I tried the varnish on them like a dummy, and you're supposed to try it on a test piece first, and I was just like, oh, whatever, I'll just see how it comes out. Well, that's how it came out. So the stain wouldn't take on just this one coat of varnish, but you can see it kind of brought out the pattern, so it matches with the wood. I was thinking about mixing lids or redoing the whole thing from another piece or another kit, but I think I'm just going to stick with this one, just rock it, and just clear epoxy the outside, finishing resin. Okay, so we made progress on the sponsons, sanded down all the rough edges from trying to fill in the gaps there, and I actually ended up thinning out the mix that I had with the sawdust in there to try to thin it out to get it to have more set time, and it thinned out a little too much. It made it too watery, so it just kind of soaked into these joints. So I'll have to go over them again with some epoxy third time just to make sure they're nice and filled in and smooth. And have one big nasty gap right there that I tried taping these down, but sometimes you don't. I mean, I thought it was sanded smooth, but I guess sometimes you don't get a smooth joint. All the other joints look good, but I'm tempted to go buy a C-clamp and try to C-clamp that and epoxy it, but I think I'm just going to fill it in. I'll just fill in the gaps, seal it, and sand it down smooth. And turn fin bracket, didn't turn it out exactly as I wanted. I thought this wood was deep enough for these little channels here, but you can see they're pulled pretty much flush to the wood. This one's a little past, but they're still not seated in the wood properly, so I'm just going to epoxy the backs of those and just go with it. And I had to mark where the collar's going to go so I can cut my bracket and drill my holes in the right place. In hindsight, I probably should have drilled this hole a little bit higher, but you know, I was trying to guesstimate. You can see my original marks there. Just trying to guesstimate where it would get the best hold and the best strength on that piece of wood. And I think higher up, you can see higher up probably would have been a better spot. I decided to try to keep it level. Try to keep it a straight, level bracket and not have it too offset. So keeps the profile down on the bracket. Alright, so this will be several days later. I kind of took a little break and worked in small segments on the nose cone and the sponsons, sanding them down because it really took a toll on my neck and my shoulders. That combined with the work I've been having to deal with lately, it's a lot of physical labor. But we got the sponsons pretty much dead level. This screw here was sticking up, or bolt was sticking up a little bit more than this bolt, and that's because I was using one washer. You can kind of see where it pressed in there. It pressed in on the other one too, but I used two washers on this one, and it seemed to work a little better, spread the load out a little better, and maybe I probably cranked down a little too hard on this one. But sanded it down, filed it down so it's level, so the bracket won't be crooked, and got everything sealed up, all my joints sealed, got the paint laid for my stripes, and I got 2 coats of finishing resin on there, wipe smooth, and I think that'll be enough of a barrier to lay the stain and have a clean line. Alright, got the first layer of stain applied. Stripes turned out pretty good. I think it's gonna take one more application there to bring the grain out, but it didn't come out exactly as planned. You can see there's kind of some unwanted stripage there, and along the bottom I wanted it to fill in the whole grain, but that's okay. I guess sanding it down takes some of the pattern out, or not really sure what went on there, but it looks kind of cool. Kind of a unique pattern to it. But you can see the stripe there, that's the main thing. I try not to sand too much on the tops there. That one turned out pretty good. A little bit of splotching and striping there, but it's okay. I think it looks nice. That'll be mostly covered up, but yeah, you can kind of see the sand marks, the file marks there where it took away the pattern. It's alright. And forgot to mention, this is 3 coats of finishing resin, and on the last coat I didn't wipe it as hard, so I kind of left some of it on there to build up. But tubs turned out pretty good. Got a little spots there. I didn't get it exactly smooth, but it's okay. It's just a little nitpicky stuff. It looks good. Looks good with that grain. And I think I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave the outside as it is. If I do decide to reinforce it, I'm gonna do an inlay. But I started cutting up some fiberglass mat here, and it was. I don't like how the stuff it leaves around my cats. I don't like it, so probably gonna avoid using that in this build, and if I do, I'm gonna go outside. But it's coming along pretty good. Alright, so just applied the second coat of stain to the sponsons, and they turned out a lot better. still drying, so I'm not going to move them too much. But this time I made sure to let the stain sit for a good minute or so, let it soak in the wood, and it got some nice character to them now. I like it. Alright, so we're getting there with the turn fin bracket. Just cleaned up my workspace, all this plastic shavings, and this is what I'm working with here. Oh, backwards. I was filing down that side. So there's my marks where I kind of decided to the dimensions. So I could leave it there, but the more you sand off, the more weight you're saving. So this is kind of a weight saving process that's taking forever, but I'll go through it. It's several hours now, but the piece is looking good. Fitment. See here how it's gonna fit. Kind of like that. Still gotta drill my holes, but I'll probably drill the holes back a little bit so I have plenty of room for that collar. But yeah, have plenty of mounting option places, and I'm gonna do the fin in carbon fiber or something like that. I'll just kind of trace out how I want it. I just want a basic straight fin, just to help with, you know, turning around to line up my straight line pass. And I'm going to try to have it in such a way that it's adjustable, and it's not sitting in the water too deep, just enough to give it some resistance turning, because I don't want too much drag or too much of this fin to be in the water for saw runs. And for the angle, you want the inside flat because the water is going to be grabbing on the inside, so you want that flat and the bladed side on the outside. So I'm probably going to file 45 degree or so, maybe a little steeper angle in the leading edge. Leave the back edge or the trailing edge flat, and I'll probably run some sealing, some finishing resin or something to seal that edge, because once you start working on carbon fiber, you open up the epoxy there. So I don't know, maybe that's overkill, but I think sealing it up will make sure there's no issues. It doesn't split or anything. Yeah, you can kind of see there, it's like sandwiched into some epoxy, and the fibers in between it. So probably want to seal that up. Alright, so here I did the bottom of the lids with finishing resin, and the sponsons I just used the original boom tubes for support, just so I could wipe the clear off of there. I believe this is the first coat. Yeah, still the first coat of clear, and I wiped it gently so the layer doesn't peel off so easy. So you can see it's kind of rough, and I kind of want it to have a rough finish when it's ready to hit the water, because the skis, especially the bottom of the skis, I don't want them smooth. I want nice sharp edges, like Dr. Jet's saying, for the water to shear off, but I do want rough. So while the sponsons have been curing up, I went ahead and started doing, well, first of all, I had the turn fin. I've been working on this turn fin for quite a while. So here's the bracket, and I showed the piece of carbon fiber I was going to use before. That's how it turned out. The blade came out good. Problem is, I slipped with the damn Dremel here and kind of chipped it. I don't know how that happened, but it chipped. I think it's probably with the cutting wheel. Chipped a little bit of it there, and that, I mean, high speed, 100 mile an hour, that's going to cause some disruption and drag. So I want to fill this back spot in more. I got to dig around. I used a silver pen to mark the carbon fiber, so I got to dig around for some paint thinner. The alcohol's not taking that off. It's a permanent silver paint. Take the paint off and mix up. Yeah, you can see the scratch mark there. I'm going to mix up a tiny bit of epoxy and mix some carbon fiber dust that I saved there. Lay it flat on this surface on the tape so it cures flat, and that way it'll just peel off the tape. Hopefully that works. I'll smooth it out if I have to, and that should be done minus the mounting holes in the hardware. And I'm probably gonna run some silicone on the back side of this when I attach it to the sponsons, just to keep water out of those holes, because those holes are the only entry point, and the boom tubes are left for the water to seep in. So I had the strut and flex shaft and the stuffing tube. Sorry, I'm trying to remember all my nomenclatures. Out and ready to fit. So I don't want to move it too much because I have it kind of in place where I want it. But I had to move this motor mount all the way up, so it's the highest that you can go on the mounts, but it still clears the deck there. And I kind of still have the cooling lines bent down. I'm gonna figure something out with that, but let's see. We'll turn them all the way up. Oh, like that. I did grease this when I put it on, but I don't like moving it around too much. I don't want to mess that seal up. Yeah, they do stick out. So if you were to run them straight up, which some people say you do want them straight up because water goes in here, you don't want it to go in the top and flow all the way through, but I think it'll be alright angled off like this. Maybe even all the way to the side, but yeah, I'm gonna have to jostle this around a little more because it moved out of place. But you want to have the collet in there, have it loose, but have this mounted so everything's, you can align stuff. And how I did it, I just kind of move this the stuffing tube around until it looks as straight as can be, and held that in place, and just kind of slowly feed the shaft in there and make sure that it goes in nice and straight as possible. And that way you'll have no vibration or unwanted load on the motor and the drivetrain. So that's where we're at from there. And what I'm going to use as a template, just some cut clothes wire hanger metal that's easily bendable. I do have a ruler that's a flexible ruler, but it's too wide to feed through that stuffing tube or feed through that hole there, so that's not going to work. Had to jimmy something up. And I was thinking about cleaning up this hole a little bit around this area, just so I could get a little more up and down flex, because I do want a little bit of strut adjustment. But yeah, I think I might do that. I think I might just open this up right here where this lip is, and it should be good. So how to find your length: you get that where you want it, roundabout. I think I'm gonna have this stick out about like that. I think you want less than an inch. I'm not really sure, but that looks like most of my other boats. Maybe even a little less where the silicone tube is. But you get it where you want it. Yeah, I had that set right where I wanted it to. And I had to remark my lines because I measured a little bit too short, so that's what I should have done. Measured the line at the transom. That way I can have it exactly where I want it. So I'll probably add that once I get it back in place. I'll add a line for the transom. My cut line is there with the little arrow, and to figure the depth into the strut, that means how far the tube goes in there and it stops. It's about 18 millimeters. You just stick it on there, mark it, and measure it, and that way you have your mark, and then you put your cut mark plus the strut depth, and that should give you the proper length. And you want to go a little bit past, so you got something to work with. You can file it down and cut it and get it exactly how you want it. Alright, so got the stuffing tube bent. Here's my template, marks. That's where the shaft goes into the collet. So you mark the end of that, and then kind of follow your line down to your end mark, and that looks pretty close to even. This is my second bend because the first one kinked on me. I tried the sugar method and that didn't work. Maybe I was using too much force, but yeah, that's not savable. So I went ahead and did the traditional method that I know works. Just put the damn shaft and the silicone tube in there and gently bend it, and that seemed to work. I did get a tiny little bit of a kink in this line. Let's see if I can highlight that. Come on, focus. There it is. Yeah, there's a little kink in there. I kind of put a drill bit inside there, tried to round it out a little bit, and it seems to be turning okay. It's not binding up or anything in there, so it may be a problem later on, but we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the shaft to length and cut the tube to length. Alright, so back, about to cut the flex shaft, and bending this tube was a little bit tricky, so I had to put more of a gentle curve in here because the straight part of this shaft goes to about here, so it was binding up on my sharp bend that I had here. So doing that, it made it, and that kink in there made this a little difficult to put into the strut. So I had to sit here and file some of it down, file until it slide in there, slide all the way to the bottom. I have that marked. I believe that's 17 millimeter. So you put your shaft in there, silicone washer, drive dog, and I have a 1.9 prop on here. And you're gonna push the shaft just past the threads, where the threads start. Not hard to do this one-handed on camera. Yeah, should have had it set up. I was trying to demonstrate. Okay, so about there. Pull that out a little bit. So right about there. You want to have your nut go on, at least one nut go on, and have threads hanging off the end. Everything bottomed out. You can mark your mark where you need to cut. So I have this mark. No, it's this mark here. This mark here is where the stuffing tube stops, and the rest of the cable goes into the collet to the end of the collet. And that here just as for a mock-up. Be like that. So at the bottom of the collet it'll have about 9-10 millimeter space, and that should work. And I did open up this hole a little bit in width because it was a little tight fit.
One eternity later.
One other thing I forgot to mention, I did sharpen up the rudder. It's got a nice edge on it, and I opened up this little inlet hole here with the rat tail, and then filed that smooth, filed the little burrs smooth. But one other issue I ran into is that hits the strut mount. So I'm going to need to use this third hole anyhow to line it up with that hole. I mean, either way you can bend the rod to where you're going to set it, but I'm going to use the third hole and just chop the top of that little bracket off, and it should swing fine. And this rudder, it's away from the prop, it's ahead of the prop, so it's ahead of the blast of the water, so it should have good turning. And it looks like it's gonna sit in the water just enough, not too much, not too little. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so several hours later, and made quite a bit of progress. Got the stuffing tube mounted. Got a clear silicone on the top. The bottom's taped for now. I'm going to let that cure, peel the tape tomorrow. Then silicone the bottom just to make sure it's all sealed before I add the ski. I had the ski drawn out, the dimensions drawn out for the bottom plate, and one of the side pieces I got to do the other side piece on another piece of scrap. So I'm going to cut those two side pieces out, tape them together, and file them down so they're even and they match with this thing. So I used Cozy's dimensions initially, but it didn't really seem to line up, so I kind of expanded on his. The length is going to be 185 millimeters for the main bottom ski, and where it meets up to the transom is going to be 175 millimeters to here. So you're going to add 10, and that'll give you that little drop off angle that it has. And my mounting, I haven't put a level on it. I just kind of eyeballed it, which could be off. I have some adjustment there. And a few issues I ran into with the driveline. This is normally dropped down and you use 2 bolts, so I had to raise it way up to get it to somewhat neutral. It looks like it's neutral position. It's kind of hard to tell with the rudder in the way. But yeah, it looks pretty neutral to the ride surface. Maybe a little bit negative. I'll check that later. But the main thing is the prop and the driveline is on there. Everything's smooth. Nothing crazy out of balance, nothing grinding. Even with that kink in the tube. I'm suspecting it may have a little heat issue. I'm going to check the heat. That'll be underwater, or mostly being splashed by water. Because the ski is going to end right about where the stuffing tube goes in there. So the clear silicone, I added a little bit inside of here when I was joining these two pieces together, because I was going to do the heat shrink, but I either had heat shrink that was too small, wouldn't go over this piece, or it was too big, and I don't think it would close up enough over the stuffing tube, so kind of skipped that idea. And what else? Oh, we attached the solid carbon fiber boom tubes today, so I just kind of stuck those in, measured them on each end, and those turned out to be, I had to use my standard, so a lot of my tools I'm using are the stuff I bought from when I went to college and stuff I used as a mechanic. This is a standard rule. I've been using millimeters for most of the stuff, but this one breaks down to 64ths, so each boom tube, if you're using standard measurement, should be 6 inches and 42 or 44/62. So make sure those are even. I put the collars on. These collars fit a little bit tight, so I opened them up. I tried with the screwdriver first and banging on them and taking the screws out, trying to open them up. It works, but it's kind of crude. It's kind of noisy. Much easier way, if you get with these collars, is just get a round file like that, a rat tail file, and just file out the inside for a little bit, just a little bit, and they'll slide right on. And you also, if you use the solid carbon fiber tubes, the factory ones are just under 6 millimeter. These are right at 6 millimeter, a little bit over. So you're going to need to open these holes up a little bit, which I did. And you can obviously tell they're not secured yet. I haven't put epoxy in there. I just wanted to kind of mock them up so it looks like a boat and see how they sit. They fit nice. They're nice and straight, solid. There's no wobble or flex there. So this is going to be awesome. And in case you're wondering how much weight these add, all 8 of them is going to be 49.6 grams, so almost 50 grams. To me, it's neither here or there, but that could affect your CG. Could affect something. So something to note. You're adding that much weight up front, but the main consideration for that is I've heard other guys have been having problems keeping the front end down. It's kind of flighty. Some people I think have been adding weights up here, so hopefully this will alleviate that. I won't have to add any extra weight, because weight in a boat, no good. And I will have to remove this motor one more time, so I didn't Loctite the collet grub screws. I did Loctite the drive dog grub screw. And what else? What else did I Loctite? Can't remember. Something else. Anyhow, my repair for the turn fin, my custom carbon fiber turn fin, turned out okay. The tape peeled kind of not how I wanted it to. Some of it stuck on there, so I'll have to file that down a little bit. But we got a solid edge on there. It's not chipped. It's a little dippy there, but I can clean that edge up and make it look nice. So it's gonna sit somewhere like here, and I'm gonna cut the holes so it sits right at the surface of the ride surface, I guess they call it, where the ski is, at the bottom of the ski, about like that. So just there's that little sharp bit in the water, so just got a little bit of grab when I'm turning out to make my pass. So oh, here's how much epoxy and finishing resin I've got left. Halfway on the finishing resin and a little bit lower. Yeah, so a little bit less than half on the epoxy. So I do have Kraken 180 on the way, and SMC 2200. Oh, let's see if I can say this right. It's the HCL HP pack, I believe. I could be saying that wrong, but it's the high cycle life flight pack. So that 4S pack should fit right up in there, because my CNHL 4S packs are about the same. I think they're about exactly the same size, but they will fit snugly right up in there. And another step, this is still the first coat of finishing resin. I've been letting that sit and finish and cure all day, because I did that at 3 o'clock and it's 2 a.m. now, so I'm over the 6 or 8 hours. So could throw another coat on there, but it's kind of cool out, and I like to drop my AC below 75 when I sleep, so this stuff won't cure it tonight. So I'll probably just wait till tomorrow to do that, and secure the sponsons to the boom tubes and go from there. So I guess this is going to be it for part 5. Thanks for watching. Hope there are steps along the way. I know this is a super long series. It's probably gonna be like part 8 when I'm done with this damn thing, but we're getting there. I hope it was helpful for somebody, new builders, experienced builders. You guys built these boats before. But yeah, stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for watching.